Hello everyone, my name is Gail Reyes Gala and welcome to our peaceful classroom. Our peaceful classroom is a dedicated space where parents, teachers, and other professionals come together to talk about ideas on how we may promote positivity and peace in the lives of our children and our teens. Today, we will be focusing our discussion on one very essential aspect of wellness, our social well-being. According to a 2019 article on well-being posted by Dr. Chiki Davis in Psychology Today, social well-being is the ability to communicate, develop meaningful relationships with others, and maintain a support network that helps overcome loneliness. One of the feelings many of us are experiencing during the current coronavirus pandemic is loneliness. Of course, it is normal to feel lonely from time to time. However, the community quarantine and social distancing have kept people away from their usual support system for far too long. According to the Mental Health Foundation in the United Kingdom, long-term loneliness is associated with an increased risk of certain mental health problems, including depression, anxiety, and increased stress. Keeping stress and anxiety to ourselves can affect our mental health. Among the many ways we can combat stress is to stay connected with others. Staying connected with others conveys the message that we are not alone. But how can people provide emotional support and practical help when most of our connections are limited to online communication these days? And by the way, even if you are at home, are you genuinely connecting with each family member? Let us listen to our protagonist, Maria Lourdes T. Jarabe, or Malu to many. Malu is a registered social worker, placing number 1 in the 1997 Social Workers Licensure Examination. She finished her Master of Social Work from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and is now completing her PhD in Family Studies at Miriam College. She was an undersecretary at the Department of Social Welfare and Development from 2016 to 2018. Before joining DSWT, she worked at Miriam College, holding various administrative and academic positions. She also worked at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila as an Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs. Let's listen to Malu's own experiences of stress and anxiety and how these have gotten worse due to social distancing.
Good day, friends. My name is Malu Jarabe. I am a registered social worker, and I used to be the undersecretary at the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD. Currently, I am finishing my dissertation for a PhD in Family Studies. So today, let's talk about how to stay connected amidst the pandemic. Well, it's been 8 months, no? 8 months since the last time we were free to go out. We were able to go out unencumbered by the wearing of face masks, face shields. We can still shake hands, no? With colleagues in meetings. We can kiss and hug our friends whenever we would see them at gatherings. We can invite friends and family if we have celebrations at home. We can still go out, hang out with friends in coffee shops whenever we feel like relieving our stress. So fast forward to today. Whenever you step out of the house, it's so surreal. You can see almost everybody, every person on the street wearing a face mask, wearing a face shield, and avoiding close contact with another person, because we are told that we should be observing physical distancing as well as observing other health protocols, to protect ourselves, to avoid COVID, so we can stay COVID free. So let me ask you, how do you feel about that? Did you ever feel disconnected? Or you felt you were losing human touch? How do you stay connected with family and friends during this pandemic? Or do you feel you've lost the connection because of the setup we are in? I'm sure you have your share of anxieties and fears. Who do you talk to? Or do you feel you have no one to share these feelings with? Just to share my own, I was anxious. Excuse me. I was actually anxious when ECQ, or the enhanced community quarantine, was imposed. I was not able to see my elderly parents. I wasn't able to visit them, to physically check on them. No, I would video call them every day, but it seemed not enough though. I still wanted to see them. I still wanted to hug and kiss them. I was actually relieved that they did not get sick, during the duration of the ECQ, because if they did, that's going to be terrifying for me and for the rest of the family. Also, there were times that I felt like my head was about to explode. I was thinking of a lot of things. I was consumed. I had a lot on my mind, and I thought I needed someone to talk to. I needed a close friend, a trusted friend, whom I can share my anxieties, my emotions, my feelings with. So I phoned that friend. I called that friend, and while we were in our conversation, I actually caught myself imagining that I was talking to this friend face to face. I could even imagine her facial expression, her gestures. So you see, whenever something happens to us, whether good news, for instance, our child receives an award, or a bad news, somebody in the family dies, we actually want to share it. We want to talk about it. And more often, we want it personally delivered in face-to-face conversations. Because as human beings, we are actually wired for intimacy and connection. The human brain is wired to connect, is wired to empathize. So, when we say we miss the old setup, or our kids would tell us they miss their friends, we are actually saying we miss the human connections. We miss the intimacy. We miss the face-to-face quality and deep connections that we are so used to having. So ngayon na nasa pandemic tayo, paano na ba? So how do we stay connected when some of our movements are limited or restricted? At bakit kailangan nating panatilihin na tayo ay socially connected? Ito ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon. So let's begin by talking about social wellness. So ano ba ang social wellness? Social wellness is a very important pillar when we talk about how healthy we are as human beings. However, asking questions about social wellness, or answering questions about social wellness is actually not second nature to us. I guess normally, it would be easy for us to answer questions like, are we eating healthy? Are we exercising? Are we getting enough sleep? But I suppose it would be a lot different when I ask you, How socially connected are you? Or do you and your friend still get to talk to each other? No, you get to talk to your friends nowadays. No, like in deep conversations. Do you feel lonely? So imagine asking you this question. So just to check if you are healthy, we are healthy. So let's define what social wellness is. Social wellness is our ability to successfully interact with people around us, as well as participate significantly and feel connected to our community. So ito yung tayo in relation to others and the community we belong to. Social wellness includes making friends and having fun in a safe and healthy way while using social skills like active listening, relating to others, expressing compassion and empathy, community engagement, experiencing genuine interactions with others. We can enhance our social well-being by establishing supportive social networks through meaningful relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. And social wellness helps us make ourselves and others feel safe, included, and supported. So ngayon na tayo ay mas madalas na nasa loob ng bahay, sa loob ng tahanan natin, at medyo limitado ang ating mga galaw, ano-ano ba ang mga nararanasan nating hamon pagdating sa ating social wellness, no? Sa ating mga social connections. Gaya ng nasabi ko, as human beings, we are wired for intimacy and social connection. We mirror ourselves in others, which becomes the basis of empathy. For example, when we see someone getting hurt, we almost feel the pain, right? This is because the pain activation signal is transmitted in our brain. Our brain is wired to connect, is wired to empathize. We somehow feel the pain, that's why we can empathize. And as many people are tremendously affected by the crisis brought about by the pandemic, social connection is all the more important now, more than ever. I believe you are also very much affected. Some of you may even be overwhelmed. I think you can relate with me when I say, I wish I could face all these overwhelming challenges with a little help and more understanding from people around me. Am I right? You may also see signs of anxiety, depression, and emotional breakdown occurring as you interact with people. As teachers, you interact with students and parents. In fact, some of you are parents too, so you actually know how stressful and tiring it is to juggle so many responsibilities and think about so many concerns right now. Especially if you're a working mother, carrying multiple roles and wearing many hats. Also, just imagine how stressful and difficult it is for parents who lost their jobs, or who are about to lose their jobs, agonizing how they will be able to tide over until the pandemic ends, or the pandemic is over, which no one really knows when it will end. So there's a lot of uncertainties now. That's the sad reality we must all accept. But it does not mean we will just sit back, do nothing, and allow this to dampen our spirit. So yes, all these anxieties, fears, are but normal given the highly vulnerable situation. But we can also do something to take care of ourselves and to take care of each other. So as we take care of our own well-being and prevent burnout, it would be good to understand the social wellness challenges of parents with some empathy and warmth too. You see, with this pandemic, more and more people are becoming lonely. More and more people are feeling disconnected. Why do you think people seek professional help? It is because they feel lonely. Even before the pandemic struck us, loneliness is already a health problem afflicting 1 in 3 persons. That's according to one research. And when people who feel this loneliness do not get the help, they can drown, no, in the abyss of hopelessness. So loneliness can lead to hopelessness. You see, not being connected is not good for your health, for our health. Isolation affects us at the cellular level. For people who are lonely, the risk of contracting the disease is higher because of lower immunity. It also increases the inflammation of the body, which could result in heart disease and other chronic health conditions. In fact, in one study, it said, no, having no social connection or being lonely is just as lethal as smoking 15 cigarettes per day. Lonely people are 50% more likely to die prematurely too. So yes, loneliness could actually be fatal. So the next time we check how healthy we are or how healthy our loved ones are, besides asking questions like, are we eating healthy? Are we exercising? Are we getting enough sleep? We should also ask if they have friends to talk to, or if they're lonely, they have someone to to talk to. No? Do they have support systems? So in this situation, what do we do then? Extending social support and a sense of belonging would be critical to our collective well-being. It is in everybody's interest, therefore, that we support one another in order to survive and overcome the challenges brought about by this pandemic.
Malu talked about the source of her stress and anxiety. Like Malu, many of us feel anxious about not being able to check on our elderly parents. Early on, it was already made known to us that older and elderly people are most vulnerable to COVID-19. This makes adult children worry about their aging parents all the more. Malu also talked about the anxiety that comes from worrying about her children. Aside from keeping the family healthy, many parents have been anxious about how to support their children in their online classes. Parents who carry multiple roles feel stressed as it is with their jobs and could certainly manage better emotionally with a little help from their friends. These days, we need people who can listen to us, empathize without judging, and perhaps just be there with an assurance that we are not alone. Let's listen again to Malu as she explains how extending social support and a sense of well-being is crucial in our collective well-being.
So paano yan? Naka-quarantine tayo at limitado ang ating galaw. We are being told to observe physical distancing and the minimum health standards. Although physical distancing is needed to prevent the spread and reproduction of the coronavirus, we need the opposite in response to social wellness challenges. Physical or social distancing does not have to mean emotional distancing. We need to stay connected to those we love and care about and use these emotional connections, to help ease the anxiety we are experiencing about the pandemic or any life issue or life issues for that matter. We can get emotionally connected with other people by being able to walk in their shoes, and take their perspective in order to understand their feelings, thoughts, and actions. This is called empathy. And empathy builds resilience. So, ano nga ba ang resilience? What is resilience? And why do we need to be resilient in these times? Since resilience is an evolving concept, many definitions have been provided for it. But resilience would typically refer to being able to bounce back from life's difficulties through resourcefulness, flexibility, and effective adaptation or adjustment. As Anne Maston, a professor of child psychology at the University of Minnesota, calls resilience ordinary magic. Again, ordinary magic. She said there is no great mystery to resilience. It is not an innate characteristic or personality trait, nor is it a lucky charm that protects people from ills. Hindi ito yung magsusuot ka ng amulet and then resilient ka na, no? It's not like that, no? Resilience typically arises from effective adaptation rather than unusual ones and emerges from ordinary human capabilities, relationships, and other internal and external resources. So, the interaction of all these factors. But please take note, no, the importance, no, of human relationships in building resilience. So, how do we do that? Cultivating human relationships and interactions are therefore necessary as we strive to become resilient in the face of this pandemic. As human beings, we learn to grow, how to reach out for help when we need it most, and how to support one another through these experiences. Everyday acts of kindness, especially as we direct them at helping out the most vulnerable and marginalized, help us create social bonds and promote a sense of belonging. Having a sense of belonging and emotional connection can help us become resilient in this very critical time. So, being and staying connected equals to becoming resilient. Having a sense of connectedness breeds hopefulness. There's optimism that you can live through the challenges and weather the storm. Sasabihin natin na kaya niya, kaya ko rin yan, no? Kaya natin yan. That there's a rainbow after the rain or the storm. There's a silver lining in all of these, borrowing Catriona Gray's line. No? Kung may Good Friday, darating din ang Easter Sunday. So, hindi lahat masama ang nangyayari. And we're optimistic something good will happen, something better will come out of it. By being connected, we don't feel lonely anymore because we know we have people loving and supporting us in this trying time. So, being connected makes us feel better and it makes us produce more happy hormones, which we need to fight loneliness. Actually, you are never lonely when you connect. No? You feel the care coming your way. And likewise, you can express your care for people. You feel the compassion for others, but also you are compassionate towards yourself. You're also capable of empathy or putting on others' shoes, no? Feeling how they feel. These are graces we receive when we connect, when we reach out. We get a happy feeling when we connect, isn't it? And it feels good when we can be a blessing to others. So, how do we increase our connectedness? How do we cultivate social connection? How do we cultivate our hopefulness? By the way, just some important points on social connection. No? Social connection is not determined by the sheer number of friends that you have. It is more the quality of your social connections. No? You may have a lot of friends but still feel lonely. It is similar to when you are in a crowded place. People pass you by but you are just standing there in the middle feeling alone. No? What we want to increase is our subjective feeling of connectedness. That we feel it inside. We may not have control over the environment. What we can control is our subjective state of mind. So, what is the secret to increasing social connectedness? No? You may ask me. Actually, it's very simple. No? It's very simple. It's very easy to do. Reach out more to family and friends, no, through constant communication. Example, calling them. Right now, it's everywhere, no, that we do video calls, no. And if that is not possible, simply text, no, that we can say, kamusta ka? Just just want to let you know that I am here whenever you need me. What else? Simple acts of kindness to our loved ones, no? Sa ating mga anak, sa ating mga asawa, sa ating mga kasama sa bahay. We can also extend acts of kindness to our neighbors, and even to people we do not know, or random people, strangers na nakita natin at that particular moment ay nangangailangan ng karamay, no? Kailangan ng dadamay sa kanila. What else? How do we create social bonds and belongingness? One example is joining groups, no? Joining advocacy groups, for instance, no? Be they online or those that are within your community, no? Na you can share your ideals, your beliefs, no, with similar-minded people. Increasing compassion for others and for oneself, no? Compassion is actually innate in us. We are wired to be compassionate. Just observe toddlers or little children who haven't been taught the concept of compassion or politeness, and you will be surprised to see, no, that they help one another. So you see, compassion is indeed innate in us, and it's no different, no, for adults. It's actually the same for adults. Our first reaction is to help someone in distress, right? Also, self-compassion. Self-compassion helps us become more resilient. And compassion expressed in terms of connection to others is a source of enormous strength. One act of compassion generates in us happy hormones, no? We are happy when we give than when we receive, no? Compassion is even contagious. Happiness generated, happiness multiplied, no, is imparted to others. For example, you would see that visit Facebook. So you just, for example, upload, no, a request for help, no, and you will be surprised more and more people are encouraged to help, no. Compassion leads to connectedness. Connectedness leads to happiness. So lahat, no, magiging masaya. So remember, when we connect, we become resilient. We experience greater psychological well-being. We enjoy better physical health. We have better immunity. And put all these together, it is very likely that we will live longer lives. No? We will live long and happy lives. So, we noted that cultivating human relationships and interactions is necessary if we are to survive, no, this challenging time and become resilient. Being more socially connected helps us promote our social wellness, which is one of the pillars of human well-being. Everyday acts of kindness, of reaching out, help us create social bonds and promote a sense of belonging. Social support and a sense of belonging would be critical to our social well-being as we face this pandemic and maybe even beyond. So, as I end this session, let me ask you, no, to reflect on the following. How connected are you right now? Or do you feel you are connected? Have you tried reaching out to someone who might be feeling lonely? And if you did reach out, how did that make you feel? What did you discover in yourself? So, I wish you well. Stay safe. May you build more and lasting social connections at the time of this pandemic and even beyond. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Malu emphasized that what people ought to be doing is to do physical distancing and not social emotional distancing, as the latter can lead to mental health concerns. Indeed, we need to stay emotionally connected to people we love and care about. When we are able to listen to others, express compassion and empathy, we help others feel safe, secure, and supported. In today's world where people feel worried, exhausted, anxious, and stressed, having empathy or the ability to take the perspective of someone else builds resilience. It helps people bounce back from life's difficulties. There are many ways to cultivate positive human relations. One is to be in tune with how others are feeling inside our very own homes. Even if we are inside our house, sometimes we are strangers to each other. This happens when people are glued to their own digital devices. While it is true that everyone in the family is busy, at least be sure to keep some of your family rituals sacred, like dinner time and prayer time. These are the times when we can practice mindfulness as a family. If you want to cultivate social well-being, you must start by being fully present to someone. Real quality time with the family will help children build their own social skills like kindness, compassion, and communication. Having these social skills make it easier to form meaningful social connections with others. Another way to develop social wellness is to practice simple acts of kindness. Remembering people is an instant boost in our immune system. Have you ever experienced the joy of being remembered, perhaps through an unexpected message, call, or food sent to your own homes? Acts of kindness can also be directed to people you don't know. Helping vulnerable groups in our community build a sense of belonging and cultivate hope that despite many challenges we face, we can all rise together. Indeed, there are many ways to connect with people even if we are physically disconnected from our families and loved ones. As we end this episode, let us ask ourselves these questions. Who are you missing the most during the pandemic? What distractions have kept you from engaging in quality time with your family? Are you able to observe work boundaries so that you do not sacrifice the time you ought to be spending with family who matter in your life the most? And finally, let us reflect on this quote from Maya Angelou. She said, and I quote, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So go and connect meaningfully with someone today. That's all for today. See you again in our sacred space, our peaceful classroom.
Cyber troll armies, misinformation and disinformation, the disinfodemic. We've been warned about these many times before. We know that we're supposed to think before we click. We know that we need to verify information before sharing it on social media. But as we pay careful attention to these threats, there might be other issues in media and information that may escape our scrutiny. When we review or access legitimate news sources, for example, we need to ask ourselves, are we letting our guard down? Hi, I'm Therese Santiago Torres of the Department of Communication of Miriam College. I've been teaching since 2013, And at the same time, I've been working as researcher and trainer at the Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication, or AIJC. Here, one of my key research areas is media and information literacy. And currently, my research is focused on popularizing and mainstreaming MIL together with youth, particularly Filipino youth organizations. I don't want to be too technical, but please allow me to define media and information literacy for those who may be unfamiliar with it. UNESCO defines media and information literacy as a set of competencies that empower citizens to access, retrieve, understand, evaluate, and use, create, as well as share information and media content in all formats using various tools in a critical, ethical, and effective way in order to participate and engage in personal, professional, and societal activities. Thus, it is necessary for all citizens, not only the youth, to acquire these competencies. Today, in the context of the pandemic, enhancing and mainstreaming media and information literacy are important, especially when it comes to accessing, evaluating, and using health information, COVID-19 related information. As citizens, we need to be critical media consumers. We need to protect press freedom, media freedom, and our right to information, but at the same time, we also need to hold the media accountable. For example, when we read, watch, or listen to the news, we need to watch out for he said, she said reporting and false balance. Just because we turn to legitimate news sources doesn't mean we always access accurate, contextualized information. Good journalists avoid the he said, she said type of reporting because the mere presentation of all sides of a story without verification or fact-checking is not helpful to the public. Yes, it is important to get all sides of a story, but it is equally important for journalists to verify information before publishing or airing it. Thus, in the course of the journalist's verification process, if they find out that a person is not telling the truth, then they need to find evidence that counters this person's statement. This is part of their responsibility. And if we come across he said, she said reporting, where the media merely repeats what sources say without verification or context, we need to call attention to it. We need to demand for better reporting. That is part of our role as citizens. Apart from this, a practical exercise that we can do every day to enhance our media and information literacy is evaluating information sources. I'd like to share a technique from Professor Masato Kajimoto, who trained me and my colleagues on how to teach news literacy, which is part of media and information literacy. Professor Kajimoto is from the University of Hong Kong and the Asian Network of News and Information Educators, or ANI, the network that adapted this technique from Stony Brook University's Center for News Literacy. It is called a nice source analysis. I started introducing this to my students last semester after sharing it with media and information literacy teachers in senior high school. There's a longer process involving the use of tables and the ranking system, but I found that just knowing the principle behind it is already helpful in evaluating information sources. In a nice source analysis, a NICE stands for authoritative, named, independent, corroborated, and evidence-based. A is for authoritative. Is the source of information a person of authority on this particular topic or case? Take note that we're not just looking for any person of authority, but somebody who has the expertise that we need in order to study or analyze a particular topic. For example, When looking for sources of information on how to prevent the spread of a disease, government officials who do not have an expertise in medicine are not the appropriate sources to tap. Somebody might be a person of authority when it comes to the law, but this does not mean that the person is also a competent authority when it comes to public health. Again, we check the expertise of the source to determine if he or she is qualified to provide the information. N is for named. Do we know the identity of the source of information so we can check his or her background and assess his or her expertise and credibility? I is for independent. Does this person have anything to gain by withholding information or by making misleading statements? We need to make sure that there is no conflict of interest. C is for corroborated. Do other legitimate and verified sources of information support this person's claim? E is for evidence-based. Is the information from the source verified or at least verifiable? A nice source analysis is a handy mnemonic, an easy-to-use tool that we can keep in mind when analyzing information sources. I hope you will find this useful. Amid the pandemic and the scale of coordinated disinformation efforts, we cannot afford to let our guard down. We will all benefit from being more mindful in accessing, evaluating, using, and producing media content and information.